The Netflix effect in marketing. Make people binge your brand. Last year, I came up with this concept. Well, I evolved the concept. And that concept that I evolved, I've coined as branded episodic content. Branded episodic content, in short, is the ability to create multiple stories like a mini series based around your brand. Where a lot of service businesses and businesses as a whole, especially brands, go wrong is they just rely on short form content or things that are trendy and viral. And sometimes they'll even focus on long form, which is great, particularly in the form of a podcast, which again is way better than what most people do. But the real haymaker that creates an evergreen brand is by having a series attached to your business. I'll give you an example. Red Bull, I think it was 5 to 15 years ago, they did a series where there was like extreme dares that they would do or extreme activities that they would do, and it was a series. So they do the driving with Red Bull branding, they'll jump out of a plane, dirt bike, motor riding, all these different things, and they were able to attach and build the brand based off this series because the brand was about taking risks, living life to the fullest and things of that nature. KFC in the UK back in the day did a date with KFC or a date at KFC where people would meet their dates at KFC, eat, and it would be recorded on like a show. Heineken, the drink company, they did another version of like a mini series for the Heineken beer company. So all these things where brands have realized, you know what, if we have a budget or a corporate budget allocated for an annual marketing budget of say $1 million or $2 million, you don't even have to have this much money to do what I'm about to say, but they are able to apply parts of that funding and invest it into actors, into a team, into talent to build something that is so distinct and one of one that people can't directly compete with that. Because at the end of the day, you can compete with a product. To some extent, you can compete with staff, even though staff are what make up service businesses. You can try to hire that staff member from a different company that's done it before. But what's really hard to copy is copying intellectual property that has been curated, refined, and edited over 1, 3, 10, 15, 20 years and builds a narrative that people fall in love with, okay? I'll give you an example. Again, my other companies, we have one of the subdivisions of one of my production companies, it's called The Button Australia. And The Button is a popular dating show format that came out of the US from a company called Cut. And what we did was we were able to take this concept and build it in Asia Pacific. So we did The Button Australia, and then we did all the way to The Button Bali, okay? So what happened was a lot of people started to think, okay, in Asia Pacific, if I want to get on The Button, instead of me trying to travel all the way overseas to the US to feature in Cut, boom, they can do The Button in Australia or in Asia Pacific through The Button, which is one of our subdivisions of one of my production companies, okay? So these things are important because what happens is, whether they know it or not, like that's just the content side of their production company. There's like blogs and we've got merch coming soon and other things of that nature. But the cool thing is we were able to build a relationship digitally with someone that fell in love with the episodic nature, the next episode, the next episode, the next episode of a brand, which built a relationship, facilitated a connection. So when you're on a date with a girl, for example, you're not just trying to go on one date and then marry her straight away. You want to get to know her, eat some food, take your time, build a relationship, maybe meet her family, maybe get engaged, maybe marry her. But that whole sequence of events might take 2-3 years to happen, or shorter or longer. Everyone's different. But the recurring factor is that there were multiple touch points where there were long periods of engagement and understanding, not just brief touch points, right? So the Netflix effect in your marketing is still, I think, paired in with AI, are some of the earliest things that you can be early to while the world still catches up. I still see very, very few brands using episodic content or branded episodic content in their brand. And as someone who has worked with franchises and as someone who has worked with 8-figure companies and literally had dinner with a billionaire earlier last week, I can tell you that branded episodic content literally is still something that you can jump on before your competitors, but will also give you long-term leverage instead of just hopping on short-term trends.